is harder, right? So when life is harder, we revert back to our instincts. But when life is too good, what do you do?
Welcome to Livestream. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Plains, with my co-host, Jeremy Applegate.
How's it going, Doc?
The man right there.
Man, you were beast mode today.
Man, I just got out of surgery a couple hours ago.
You're crazy.
5 a.m., 2 arches.
You're crazy. Cray.
You got it. Somebody's got to do it.
No, that's true. Not me. That's not me.
So today we have a dear friend of mine's, somebody I truly admire. He has so much passion. Chris Mejia's, founder of Socrates Enterprises. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
I know you're as excited as I am to have you here.
I'm pretty excited for this. Yes.
Love the jersey. That's
Right,
sweet.
right. Yeah, we were all supposed to be wearing jerseys.
I
but
know.
Somebody forgot their jerseys.
Shit, I just threw myself under the bus.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
was looking forward to wearing my custom Yankee jersey, but that's okay. We'll do it another day.
Absolutely, another time.
So, Chris, when we met, I'm a little older than you, right? Just a little bit.
Just
Just a little
What
bit.
does that make me?
A tad older than me.
Okay.
So
viejito.
when we met, thanks to a mutual friend of ours, Andrew, man, I was like, dude, this guy's in another level of mindset. He is positive. He's a go-getter. He has that entrepreneur heart. We connected immediately from the first day we met. So was that something you were born with, or is that something that you build over time through hardship? And I know your family has gone through a lot of struggles. We have similar backgrounds, you and I. So how do you attribute that to?
My dad. Those are the first two words. My dad, my father, Socrates. Actually, his name is Socrates. So
Wow.
The name of my corporation is after him, Socrates Enterprises. He came here from DR when he was 8. Couldn't speak English, obviously, but he moved to New York, so he was in that hustler environment. And in the average Dominican love story, you find your wife in New York and then you move to Florida and then you have a bunch of kids, right? So that's what he ended up doing. And since I can remember, he was teaching me to count money. I learned how to count real cash by the age of maybe 5, like count cash.
Okay.
So when I was about 9, that was when I really dived into entrepreneurship. We had this fundraiser at my school selling, I think, chocolate. And I got first place in the whole school. It was K through 8. So
The chocolate bars?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was competing against kids that are 12,
You were
13.
buy this chocolate bar, but guess what? You're going to get that Pizza Hut discount. So basically you're getting the discounted pizza plus a free chocolate bar.
I am not lying. I was getting checks from my neighbors. I was knocking on my neighbor's door and they were giving me checks for chocolate bars. It was absurd. Yeah. But I don't know. It was just something natural because nobody taught me to smile and sell candy. It was just something so natural. And then once I saw that I can do that for the school, I'm like, maybe I can do this for myself. So then my mom, she's super cool. My dad didn't like it because he knew that selling candy in school is really not the best thing to do. But my mom was always trying to see how she can get me to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just see. So she took me to Sam's and she bought me Airheads, Twix, Snickers, everything. And then she sent me to school with the big binder, and I would just open it, boom, make my sales, close it. And you know what I'm saying? I was just trying to keep it cool. So that's how it was. So that's how I really got into entrepreneurship. First my dad, and then my mom giving me the leeway to be able to do it in school where I was around a bunch of kids.
Yeah, it's very similar to what I've went through. At the age of, not as young as you were, but at the age of 6, I was taking out my friend's primary teeth, their baby teeth. So I knew I had a passion for dentistry.
Wait a minute. Whoa. What?
Yes, I was. And I was actually charging them $2 to $3, or you give me a Starburst or Skittles or a Dorito bag and I'll extract your tooth.
I feel like he's being serious.
What?
I am being serious.
You're being 100% serious.
1,000,000%.
Wait, you were taking people's teeth out?
Yeah, their baby teeth. When they get loose,
okay.
I would take them out.
Oh my God. What?
That's crazy.
I don't
even know you.
That was me from the age of 6 to the age of 10. I was taking teeth out. And then at the age of 13, 14, I started working in the lab. But what I'm basically trying to say is that we have very similar histories. We were always hustling. You know, at the age of 12, I started a car wash company. Then I started cutting lawns, because when you come from very poor upbringings, you got to do what you got to do to survive.
For sure.
Yep.
You know? So after you started the chocolate bars, you realized, hey, man, I'm pretty charming. I know how to count money. This is pretty cool.
No. I was bringing in like real cash my senior year. So it was when I was about 9, and then I stopped selling candy until I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
Then I picked it back up my senior year. It got so bad that I had to get 3 freshmen to sell candy for me, because my best client were freshmen and sophomores. But I'm a senior, so I'm leaving school early now, so I can't sell to my best client.
Okay.
So I hired 3 freshmen, Calvin, Kenzie, and Caesar Ramos.
So you hear that, guys? He replicated himself. He replicated himself. So while he was out with his girlfriend, he had employees selling candy for him at
Girlfriends,
school.
plural. I'm kidding. I'm joking. This is a
It's
joke.
all good.
I'm a loyal man. No. But no, really. And our 2 best days was when we had bomb threats. So the whole school was in the field. Talking 2,700 kids in a field. Hot, and all they want to do is just eat candy. I think on like those 2 bomb days, I easily made like $250 a day on those 2 bomb days. So that was crazy for me back then when I was like 16. So
Sure.
And then after that, what happened? You graduated high school. Did you have a path? Did you know what you wanted to do? Did you like, hey, college is not for me, or I want to go to college? What was the decisive factor? Because I met a lot of your friends, and you guys all have very similar personalities and very similar drives. So at what point did you realize, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is my passion. This is what I want to accomplish.
So when I was 17, I was working for Zoomies, and one of my coworkers comes in talking about how he details cars for Jaguar, and how Jaguar charges people like $120 a car, and how it takes him like 6 hours. I'm like, okay, 6 hours. But that's still $20 an hour. It's way better than here at Zoomies. I was making $8.05 an hour, 1% commission on anything over $100. So,
Oh, God.
So it was almost no money. It was like no money. So I'm like, I could do that, and maybe it won't take me 6 hours. But then my dad owned 2 car washes back in the day. So I just put the pieces together, talked to my dad. He said, you can do a car in 3 hours. And now it takes me 2 hours, right? But so then I just quit the next day. I went to Staples and typed up my letter of resignation. And my boss was super cool with it, because he just knew I was so like hype, and I just bought business cards, and I was knocking on doors. And my first client was for $100, and I made that in 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was like, that was it.
So at that point you realize, hey, this is my mission now, is my purpose, and this is what I'm going to do. Because you're pretty much, for somebody that doesn't have a marketing degree, you have major branding capabilities. Like, you build a brand that everyone knows. Like, I have patients of mine that follow me through Instagram, and they're like, there's somebody in your page that just shows up, and his name is Chris, like, constantly. And all my employees, the same thing. Like, you walk into the office, everybody's like, hey, Chris, what's up, Chris? What's it going? So you're gifted, man.
It's, my dad and my mom, I think they both have this energy to where any room they walk into, their presence is just felt. So I've just always tried to be like that, because that's how you make money. That's how you make a living. So I was always friends with everyone in school. So now all of my friends from high school, middle school, elementary school, they're buying my services now. So if there's any tip that I can give, if you are 9, 10, 11, 12, sell candy and become friends with everyone. I'm being so serious. And in the future, when you have a business, everyone will buy from you when they finally have money.
Hey, guys, I'm not paying this guy underneath the table, because, as you know, candy then creates cavities, and cavities come to me.
Look at that.
I'm already thinking of this process.
Well, you said something very relevant, and he and I believe in this 1,000,000%. You build relationships. That's part of business. That's part of having a strong foundation on the business side. And, you're a perfect example of that. There's no doubt.
How I met Dr. Alex was I was in a detail supply shop, and Andrew was behind the counter. I thought he worked there, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't work there, obviously, right? So he was behind the counter, and Andrew just said something like, do I follow you on Instagram? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, because I didn't really know him yet. So then he pulled up his page, but he has like 300 followers. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then he DM'd me the next day, and then he got his car done, and then he introduced me to you, and that was it. And now you're like my best clients. So you
Thank
never
you.
know how that connection comes through Instagram, through social media. And I don't even know how he got my page. So
It's all about you took an
Networking.
opportunity and you captured it.
Yeah,
you know?
networking for sure.
We always, like you were saying, we always talk about relationships. So my question to you is, when Jeremy brought that up about relation, I have over 80 employees. So it's very hard to build that relationship with all 80 employees when you have different stores or different offices. Have you ever thought about growing your business and having multiple trucks? Because right now you're very family focused. Have you thought about bringing in partners or basically maybe franchising it?
detailing can be so difficult because there's just too many pieces. There's so many things that can go wrong. The whole car has to look perfect. Yeah. Every air vent, crack, crevice, every rim, lug nut. So detailing can be very difficult. I could own a car wash because people know I'm going to pay $50 for a quick wash. It's not going to look as good, and they're okay with seeing dirt here and there. But they don't want to pay $350 for a detail and see anything. They want to eat off the car when they're paying that price.
Which you do a great job.
Yes, but it takes time, and you have to have the eye, and not everyone has the eye. But everyone has the eye to make a car look decent if you step back. But once you get close, then you see all of those
you have
flaws.
Patience.
Yes, patience.
A lot of patience. Like, he gets the brush, he cleans every, like he says, every vent, every crevice. Like, you don't, like, I have 3 boys, right? So he's seen, like,
I charge him extra. I would charge him extra.
He's seen like parasites growing out of my car. So, but you're very patient, you're very meticulous. And if it takes you, sometimes you have a win that you do a car in 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes you take 6.
It took me 14 hours to do 3 cars the other day, but I charged them $16.50, which is still kind of low because I try to make between $150 to $200 per hour because now I can do it faster. But those cars took me, 14 hours? 14 hours.
Wow.
On 3 cars only. So
that's great.
Well, that gives everybody the clear indication that you're passionate about what you do, and they want that perfection, and I think that's a pride thing for you too, right? You want to walk away saying, "Damn, I did a good job."
Yeah. I mean, I don't want anyone talking bad about me because back with those relationships, I'm now representing him, her, him, you, everyone. So if I do a bad job, they're going to talk bad about the people that I associate with.
Exactly.
And same thing vice versa. If he messes up someone's tooth, I'm not going to get paid eventually off of that tooth. So that's
don't worry, he's gotten plenty of experience pulling teeth out at 6 years old. What the heck?
So Chris, when the reason I asked that question is, like, any tips for like investors or entrepreneurs or people that are network marketing that want to go ahead and build those relationships? How do you advise them to go about it?
It's so tough because I'm such an advocate on you are pretty much who you were when like you were 6, 9, 10,
Your inner child.
12. Yeah. Like you can try to become a different person, but it's so tough because those subconscious habits always come back. So if you feel like you
think that you don't think that can be taught, or you think it'll come out fake?
Even if it does come out fake, I mean, there's fake entrepreneurs who make a lot of money, right? So, but no, like,
there is.
No, really. But I don't know. It's just about being a genuine person. Like you have to genuinely want the better for the other person in front of you,
Okay.
and you have to know that it's gonna come eventually pay you back. Eventually, it pays you back.
It will.
But some people can't have that foresight. I don't think you can really teach.
Okay.
Seeing into
I
the
agree.
future. How do you teach someone to think in the future? So
That's so true. Well, they always talk about, there's an author that I like to read called Wayne Dyer. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him, but if not, you should. He talks about the manifestation. So basically, if you throw it, you manifest it enough, it will happen. It will materialize it, which, I'm sure you've heard about The Secret. Everyone has heard about The Secret. That's all that is. You manifest it. I remember when we met a couple years ago, you told me, these are my goals. These are my aspirations. Eventually, I'm going to step back. And you've accomplished all of that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be going to Colombia again for, 3 months, 6 months, a year. I don't know when I'll be back. And business will continue to run as if I'm here. So
there's veterans entrepreneurs that have never even been able to figure that out. So any tips to be able to accomplish that? How did you learn how to replicate yourself?
Well, I'm super blessed to have my dad. So
Okay.
I'm extremely lucky. I'm more lucky than than you could even imagine.
But sometimes working with your own family is even harder.
Definitely. My dad and I bump heads all the time. I mean, today he actually told me that he doesn't want me to work with him because I just like things to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
And he does it his, way. So that's probably the answer, is allowing that other person to be them, allowing your employees to be them, allowing your partner to be them. But it can be difficult when you see it this way, but they're seeing it that way. So if you don't even attempt to see it from their point of view, it's never going to work.
Okay.
Well, we talk a lot about like replicating ourselves, and in our leadership roles, we're like, well, we need 10 Jeremys, we need 10 Dr. Plainses. No, you don't. You just need to make Steve the best Steve he can be. You just need to make, Dr. Smith the best Dr. Smith he can be, as opposed to always trying to replicate ourselves. So you're right on that.
So true.
Putting them where they fit best.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been, and I've spoken about it in the past, and so has Jeremy, about there's been many employees that are assistants or they're front desk, and they're okay, but they're not as good. And then you tap into their potential and you realize, hey, you're an amazing assistant or you're an amazing front desk. Let's make these shifts. And they actually benefit them. And they're like, Doc, I'm so happy that you made me change that position. At first they're upset, but then after they realize, man, you were right.
Yeah.
So as you're 23 now. So by the way, he just learned Spanish. He's become bilingual. So that's an amazing attribute. I remember when we first met, you couldn't speak Spanish. He's Colombian and Dominican, but couldn't speak Spanish.
It's because of my parents, right? I don't want to put the blame on my parents, but they didn't teach me.
Well, you kind of just did.
Yes. No, really, it is their fault. So when I have my kids, he or she will speak Spanish first because they're going to learn English when they're in school. Gym, I mean, they're going to eventually learn English. They need to learn their language, Spanish, or wherever you're from. If you have kids, please do not ruin their future by not teaching them their language, because it is embarrassing. People make fun of people. Like when I was out there, they make fun of me because I can't speak my language. I'm their color, look just like them, but I can't speak like them.
That makes you more interesting.
It does too, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So you talked to me like a couple of months ago, and you're like, Alex, I have this amazing topic and I was like, this is above the norm, which I've noticed it as well, but it hasn't really been talked about. And it's the effect of social media with the majority of the population and how much time it consumes, where you can be building relationships with your friends, with your kids, with your wife, with your partner, and you're stuck on that phone and addicted to this social media hype, right? So, you realize that. How do you feel that that's going to affect current culture?
There's so many ways to look at it, but I don't put the blame on social media. Social media is just the drug of choice currently. It's just the drug that we crave here in the West and in first world countries. Because in Colombia, they don't watch TV. They have Androids, so they're not on their phones nearly as much because it's just not as nice to be on an iPhone, right? So there's still
I'm
more.
an Android guy. What are you talking about?
This guy's always going to defend. Okay. No, but they're in countries where life is harder, right? So when life is harder, we revert back to our instincts. But when life is too good, what do? When you don't have any problems, what do you do? Life can really become boring when you don't have to think about how am I going to eat.
Waste a lot of valuable time on a phone.
Because you have too much time. Right?
Yep.
If I can get food like that, but just 3,000 years ago, I could not get food.
You had to go hunt for that
You had to
food.
go hunt. So there was no time to even think about a phone or inventing devices like this. It was food, sleep, kids, done.
Survival.
Survival, right? So, and in countries where survival is more prevalent, they're more happier too. So that's also the issue that we're seeing here, is that people have all of these nice things, but they're so unhappy because they don't have that family base, which is what we were just saying, right? So the phone is taking up our attention, but it's also taking up our time with our family. So
Exactly. I lived in Dominican Republic for 4 years, and as you know, it's a third world country. And over there, man, people are just happy. I mean, at 2 or 3 o'clock, they're having their drinks, dancing, having a good old time, And where here, everyone's so obsessed with what is next, what's going to happen in the next hour.
Because we don't have an alternative. So I don't even blame the people from here. What else are we going to do? Sit home and just be happy? No, we have phones and nice cars and big, TVs. I have 12 TVs in my house.
Yeah,
It's
in
me and
Europe,
my
the
dad.
majority of the people only have one TV.
Exactly.
But guess why? But why? And then everyone's more united because everyone sits down and watches their favorite show.
People still eat together at the dinner table in different countries, so you're still hearing about this.
Oh, they have
person
lunch together every single day.
Well, you hear that all the time nowadays. Over here is, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? And then you end up eating two separate
Two
meals.
different things.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I think it's just and you know, they're getting all this information from you. Like, we've even been having conversation about cars, and you get on Instagram and right away you see a sports car that shows up. It's like they're hearing us, right?
Yeah. But this is the cycle of every culture. Cultures just go in waves. So America is the Roman Empire right at the top, right before it fell.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where we go back to those foundations and those values?
Not intentionally, but unintentionally, right? So when life becomes too easy, it must become hard, because hard times create strong men. As we know, strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, which is my generation. We are weak men because we had too many good times. So it isn't our fault. Times were just too good, and now we must make our kids suffer because we are weak men. And then they will become strong because they will suffer.
Do you consider yourself an alpha male or beta, omega?
I think I'm more of like a sigma, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like kind of in the middle. I don't want to be this mucho macho guy. Nobody likes that, right? So I try to kind of like stay in between that balance. And plus, it's difficult to be that macho man in an environment where there's so many beta males and there's so many alpha females too. So I don't want to just throw it on the guys.
Yeah.
Females are also more masculine than ever.
Yeah.
So once you get that switch, that's how you know a culture's on their way down. Once you get genders mixed up.
Well, they're very independent. They build professional careers. You know, a lot of women maintain the household now, which when my grandparents were growing up, that was unacceptable.
Exactly. And if you go to different countries, you still see the woman is cooking dinner, taking care of the kids, cleaning the house, being a mom, being a feminine woman. But here, women can survive by themselves. They can have a good job, make a lot of money. But in other countries, women cannot survive without men. It is impossible. Their kids will go hungry. So that's also the culture switch. When survival is at its finest, you revert back to your gender roles.
That's so true. I know Jeremy's like processing all this information.
No, it's relevant and it's true. And, you know, people have conversations about this all the time because it's a relevant topic of conversation. There's no doubt about that.
And the family's broken. So we can talk about women having their, rights back. Your kids don't see their cousins. Your kids don't see your, aunts and uncles. The family's not there. Great, you have a job and you can support yourself, but you're too busy working and someone else is watching your kid.
Well, we were just talking about this pre-podcast was like, we all have siblings, but how connected are we with those siblings?
Not nearly as much as if you go to other countries where it's always about survival. Life must be difficult for you to enjoy it.
That's
it is
so
boring
true.
when it is too easy. It's boring.
I won't go that far, but
You need those difficult, and I mean, failures make you better.
Oh, for sure.
I've learned my biggest lessons from my failures.
Absolutely.
Not only professionally, but personally as well, and with relationship with my friends and, my partner. So I think it's very important to, like Chris said, to have those failures and those challenges so you can become better. I don't know if you're like me, but whenever you fail at something, how long does it take you to process it, absorb it, come up with a diagnosis, and then fix it or move on from it?
I think for everyone, in hindsight, it's always like oh my God, I'm so glad that happened, or now I see why this happened. So I think I can kind of recover faster because I failed a lot faster than the average person. I think I've gone through much more failures and bigger failures than the average person at such a young age. That's what's kind of advanced me.
That's what given you your drive, you believe?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've lost your drive or you're still the same?
I don't know where I'm at right now. Like, I'm kind of in, the middle of, I really want to enjoy traveling to different countries. But I don't even think it's that. I think it's that family. Like, when I'm in different countries, I feel like I'm family. I don't get that same feeling here. When I walk into a restaurant there, it's buenas, ¿cómo estás? Every time. It's not like that here. I don't get that welcoming feeling here. So
you might be onto something. Maybe you should open up a consulting company to turn that around.
Right, to change the whole... the whole fast food service here and make everyone
no.
We got the mission statement ready to go.
Right? Yeah, we're ready to go. No, but honestly, it's so true. Like over there, you have lunch together, the whole family's together, the friends are together. After that, they're talking about plans. They're creating little events, playing dominoes or cards or doing.
And the thought of advancing 10x is not a thought over there. they think, okay, how can I pay my bills this month, maybe next month, maybe the next 3 months? We think, how can I grow 10,000% in the next year here? That's how we think here. It's so funny.
But this is like you were saying, this is like you had how many TVs, 12 TVs, 14 TVs. So, this is we are programmed to, you get commercials constantly. And what is it? To spend. It's like what I always say, my biggest competitor is not the dentist across the street. It's Walt Disney, it's the Louis Vuitton bags, it's the Toyota Camry, because that is what our biggest competitors is. This is the country of consumption. You make a check, you pay bills, and you spend the little money you have, and you waste it on TVs. Oh my God, there's a plasma TV, 56 inches for $300. It was $700, and guess what? You're buying it, even though you might not have the money for it. You could use that money towards doing like a family gathering or going to a nice dinner with your family. You go and you buy another TV, which you really don't need.
Listen, in a previous life, I've been in dental for a while, but in the previous life, they transitioned the word patient to consumer.
Really?
Yes, because it really is a consumer-based service industry now. You have to make yourself available to these guys. You have to cater to them. The customer's always right. Well, yeah, they definitely transitioned from patient to consumer. And it's interesting, and we're talking about consumering. We're talking about consumers. We're talking about that stuff, and I mean, it's really, now that you start sitting down and processing, it's like, it's true. Like we are competing against new shoes and a new bag and a new car
or the next
and
cruise.
a trip and a cruise.
Yeah.
That's really where we are at this point.
Like, why did I purchase this? Because I want everyone to look at me and say, oh my God, he has a Kanye West jersey. Like, I didn't even know that existed, right? So I get people talking about him because we love that attention.
Yep.
So that consumer is not just trying to buy things just to buy them. We want other people to approve of us. So there's less of that
Approval
in other
syndrome.
countries.
Yeah.
So they don't have that syndrome in other countries nearly as much.
Yeah.
I mean, in the DR, when I used to do community work, I literally used to extract teeth in a chair, plastic, and no light, and there was no even floors. There were either grass or they were just dirt, and the roofs were metal roofs. You've seen that.
Yeah.
So as you've evolved and I see that you always talk about different avenues instead of spending it on a Kanye jersey or the new Air Force Ones or a TV, for example.
Travel. You have to leave the U.S. If you're a man, especially, you have to see the world, especially if you're Latino, Black, right? You have to go back to your home country and see where your roots come from. There is where you'll find out a lot of the answers of the questions that you have, right?
Okay.
So definitely travel, but invest in yourself. I mean, that's so vague, right? So I don't want to just say that, but spend money on yourself. Spend money on learning who you are. Because once you know who you are, then you know why you make certain choices and how to not make those choices. Because my dad always tells me, my dad has a saying for everything, but he always talks about how 1 second can cost you 10 years. He's always talking about that. So a lot of the times we'll make a bad choice that took 1 second and it's going to cost us 10 years, but it is because we didn't know who we were. So that's why we keep making those 1 second choices. But if you know who you are, then you stop making those choices so you save time.
So you got to be confident in yourself.
Confidence.
You got to understand yourself, and you gotta continue to evolve as a man or as a female, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm constantly learning. When you have kids, it's not like you get a book, that tells you exactly how to troubleshoot these issues, or if your son is sick or waking up in the middle of the night. I mean, you get advice from your family, or you can read a book, but there's no real answer, right? And you're constantly learning, and I think that's the part of life and the beauty of life.
And that's what makes it fun, because then it isn't fun if you just know all of the answers.
So if we get Chris in a big vision, I know I asked you this earlier. Have you thought about the question I asked you? How would you like to see Chris in 5, 10 years, 20 years?
I want to have a bunch of kids, like a crazy number, like 10 kids, like 7 boys and 3 girls. It sounds crazy, but I don't know. Like, I love the idea of just having a bunch of little Chris's everywhere.
I don't know if I like that idea or not.
Just a bunch of kids just washing a bunch of cars.
That's how you're going to replicate
the
yourself.
Army. That's a kind of replication. That's right.
No, but that's also something so funny here. In first world countries, they have less children. Japan actually lost 600,000 people last year. They lost. They depopulated by 600,000 people. Nobody even, and no one's even talking about this.
Yeah, I had no idea.
No one's even talking about this, right? And in Toronto, the average age that a woman has a kid is 34. That's late. I don't know, but a woman can have a kid by the time she has her period. That's very, very young, right? But 34 is very, very old, too. I mean, how old can a woman really have a kid? And how many kids can she have now that she's at 34 having her first kid? So in first world countries, we're being pushed this thought process to not have kids. There's birth control everywhere. Birth control, Plan B. Nobody wants to have kids anymore. Like, why do you not want to have kids? Because it is expensive, yes. But why would you take that away from yourself? The best thing that you can do, have kids. But it is this propaganda being pushed into our head. And even I didn't want to have kids up until a couple months ago.
I know, you told me.
I was literally talking about this 2 months ago. I don't want to have kids. Then I go to a country where there's nothing but kids everywhere. And I'm like, I want to have kids now.
You want to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. I had a patient the other day, and I told him about the podcast, and she started following it. And I told her that I was going to have you on the show. And she shared a very impactful story with me. She has a 22-year-old son that hasn't graduated, that's gotten into drugs, that has no drive, and, she pretty much cries every single night. And these are people that come from very, very good foundations. Financially, they're very united as a family. What recommendation or what would you tell her son if you can?
Let him fall and let him figure it out. So the problem with moms is they're almost too caring, right? And David Goggins actually was talking about this in a speech, how his mom let him fall and didn't pick him up. And that is why he's so strong, because his mom made him figure it out. So moms can be very soft on their kids, and that is the biggest detriment to your kid. Let him fail. Kick him out. That's what I would tell you. If he's, being a bad kid, let him go. He's 22, right?
Yeah.
He will figure it out, because his natural instinct will only kick in when he's in survival mode. It only kicks in when you're in survival mode.
That's beautiful, Chris. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure she listens to this episode. Yes. Thank you so much. Any other feedback or any other ideas that you can give, people that are, they finish high school, they have no idea of where to go. What would you recommend for them?
It's so tough. I think it just goes back down to just traveling, just seeing different areas of the world. You just have to talk to people and network. It's such a vague word, network, right? But just talk to a bunch of people. I talk to people every single day. I'm talking to thousands, right? We talk to thousands of people a day. So we hear so many problems, and our brains naturally go into problem-solving mode.
Yeah.
But if you're in the house, if you're just, not really doing too much, you don't, work that part of your brain, that problem-solving part of your brain. So you have to work that.
Got you. But what about if they don't have the money to travel, and they're like, I have no money. My parents are on Medicare, Medicaid. I really don't have a way out, Chris. What are we supposed to do? How did you get that, no failure, I'm going to succeed? I mean, you make six figures, and high six figures, and you're doing it pretty much all by yourself. So,
I think it goes back to my dad. Like, I saw my dad do it, so there's almost no other option for me. So I would ask that person, what did you see when you were 6, 8, 9, 10, and then try to work that trauma out, because those are just non-beliefs that people have. There's no thought in my head that I would ever have I don't want to say normal job, because that's bad. Jobs can be great. I know people with really good jobs, right? But I don't see myself I can't see myself working, doing something that I don't want to do, right? Because it literally has not been shown to me. I've never seen my dad work a job, so it is impossible for me to even.
He's always been independent.
He's always been independent, so it's impossible.
I think a part of it is too, those people that say they can't get out. I mean, it's failure. I mean, you got to keep trying to get out, or you're never going to fail. You're never going to learn. You're never going to grow, and then you will never get out.
Yeah, well, you always share with me, during the recession, the real estate recession, that was pretty much one of the hardest times of your life among many.
2008.
And I'm sure after you went through that, when you had no electricity in your house, he had no electricity for a whole summer.
For a whole summer.
Yeah.
Whole summer.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So he went through.
Here?
No. This is in 2008 when the economy crashed.
Yeah,
But
but in
like,
the
were
United
you
States,
Everything.
What?
Oh yeah, in the U.S. Yeah.
But were you here in Florida?
no.
No.
Okay.
So
Florida's hot.
so you go back to the failures, right? And that, or, the challenges you went through, better said. And you told me, Doc, like that changed my whole mindset. And after that, I couldn't like give up after I finished
Not a chance.
this hard times.
Because once you see that you can get over something like that, you almost laugh at
Yes.
everything else.
The petty
You're like,
stuff.
but I've gone through the hardest thing ever. How can I not get through this?
Exactly.
And I think that's relevant because people are always like, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? But like it changes your mindset. It changes your attitude. It turns you into a positive person because if you can overcome that shit, you can overcome anything.
You can do anything. And stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I
Pity
love
is
that.
the biggest thing. Pity. Nobody cares.
Pity and fear.
Nobody cares about your
Nobody
problems.
cares.
I'm actually glad it's, people are glad it's happening to you. Like when you tell people your problems, they're glad it's not happening to them.
Yep.
So stop talking about your problems. Don't even let it come out of your mouth because you really don't have problems. And that is why people must travel also, to see real problems.
Yep.
I see babies on the streets, 3-month-old babies sleeping on concrete in Colombia.
Yep,
And I have to walk past them and it's normal to me now. Like I see that every day and it's normal. That's
Exactly.
normal.
I realize that, how great we have it in this country. And my parents were, blue collar workers, made very little money, lived paycheck to paycheck, sometimes had to work extra jobs in order to pay their bills. And when I lived in the Dominican Republic, I moved over there when I was 21, entering 22 years old. I realized like we walk into the stores, we have AC. I was a time in my life that I had to wash all my clothes by hands. I would lose electricity 8 to 10 hours a day. I had to study with a little candle. So guys, we have it really, really good. Like Chris and Jeremy are saying, like, we're blessed.
Yeah, for sure.
You have no
But I didn't, let's go back to what you're saying. I didn't value it till I didn't have it. And then I was like, every time I used to come back for summer break or spring break or winter break, I would walk into like the supermarket and I'll feel the air conditioning coming in and, the way my clothes smell and everything. It was just like, wow. It's impactful.
Definitely having that balance of a really good life, but making it challenging on yourself every single day is necessary to sustain that really good life.
Yeah. I mean, once I did that, I realized that my mindset that it gave me this self-confidence that you can pretty much accomplish anything.
Anything.
That's right. Well, thank you, Chris, for being a part of the show today. You can follow us at Dr. Alex A. Plains or check us out on YouTube. You can subscribe to Livestream with Dr. Alex Plains. Follow my boy here, Socrates Enterprise, Premium Detailing, Christopher Mejias. Thank you.
We out. Yes, sir.